Hi Neil, lovely to meet up with you again and do some further work on your swing. Just a quick recap of the key points we covered as promised. The swing on the left is your swing in September now. Whilst you've done a lot of work on the swing by that stage and it was improving, there were some telltale signs that you sort of default back to in varying degrees depending on where you are. Certainly maybe when you're out on a golf course. Right knee flex was being maintained a little bit too long. This was causing the arms to just lift a little bit as you completed the backswing, and we were twisting the shaft, realigning the back of the left hand, etc. during the latter part of the swing. From there, because the shaft had been twisted, the tendency, even though the transition was nice, was to just roll the back of the left hand, Accumulator 3, a little bit too much to try and realign things. If we didn't do that, we'd miss it miles right. And as Accumulator 3 releases a little bit too fast, sweet spot tumbles in front of the hands just a fraction, and the club gets on the target line a little bit too early. As we come through the hit, we see some telltale signs. We see a little bit of flexion going in, late gap opening up between the knees, exit lowering, etc. And, you know, whilst we could hit some nice shots from there, with the club coming in such a neutral direction, if you will, or shifted slightly to the left in the swing direction, the only way we can really draw the ball is by hitting down on it severely. The releasing of the accumulators can also widen the radius fractionally and lead to that sort of nuisance value low point issue that we've got. Pulls to the left, etc, etc. So just really controlling that was the key. So I'm just going to take you back up to P4. If we look at the swing earlier in the week, we see that the shaft is twisted less. It's not as laid off. Back of the left hand is in a completely different condition. There's been a little bit less lifting of the right arm off the torso. Even though the butt of the club has been propelled as far, it's been done via the turning, extending and left tilting more, as can be seen by the flex in the right knee, just diminishing a little bit more than was happening previously. From this slightly different position at the top, there's no real need to release Accumulator 3 too early. The transition's really nice. We get the club moving to the mid-right bicep by P5. And Accumulator 3 doesn't release anywhere near as early as it did. So therefore the sweet spot is a little bit less out in front of the hands at P6. Like I say, neither of these swings are disastrous. You can see there that the sweet spot gets on the target line a little bit later. So the swing on the left, the direction of the swing is slightly to the left. The swing we're looking at on the right, the direction of the swing, again, is just fractionally to the left, not a massive amount. But if the move you make in transition relative to the back of the left hand is excessive, this swing does shift more to the left than would be desirable. So this session was all about controlling that and appreciating the effect that that had. So there was your P6 at the start of the session on the right hand side. There was your P6 in September. We then start just asking you to, during the session, just hit some pushes. You've got the ball back just a fraction. You've got the handle forward just a fraction. We've got the cane in the ground just in front of you. The goal now is to just push it down the right hand side. The feeling for you is hitting a big push. You see the transition there still really nice. As we come into P6, we've started to move the sweet spot from the position it was in at the start to a position that is slightly more in behind the hands. So as this swing progresses further on, see that the swing direction is starting to shift a little bit more to the right. So the horizontal plane or the swing direction in the right hand image is fractionally to the left, about 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees to the left, which is fine, and that can play. But unfortunately, if we practice in that manner, we're never really going to get it in line enough when we're out on the golf course, which is what you've been experiencing of late. Swing on the left, the swing direction now, we're starting to get 1, 2 degrees out to the right, meaning that you've got to hit down on it a little bit less. You could argue that that's too much to the right and you'd want an inline swing, but we know that left to your own devices, under pressure, on your off days, your sweet spot wants to tumble out in front of the hands just a little bit. So this is all about controlling what's happening coming into the golf ball. Remember what we talked about, the horizontal plane, the swing direction, allied to the angle of attack, gives you the swing path. So what we need to do is look at practicing in a manner that encourages you to stretch things more and more, to never really experience the club tumbling out in front of the hands, the swing being shifted to the left, just for a period. If the hooks or the push starts to get too substantial, then obviously we can back off. But here now we've got the ball way back in the stance, so we've got the ball opposite the inside of the right heel, put my teeth back in. As a result, we are hitting down and out much more, so we're hitting the ball well before the low point of the swing, the left shoulder, etc, etc. So this ball, the idea of this drill is to push the ball out to the right. You may see the odd ball start to try and draw back to the left. That's fine, but we shouldn't really start to see the ball hit the centre line too much unless we manipulate the club face, as per the work that we did in the session. So the reason for this exercise, like I say, is to stretch you right to the other end of the spectrum. As you change direction, really good position at the top, right knee going nicely. Transition now, the club gets a little bit lower on the right bicep, which is fine because of what we're doing with the drill. The club now is substantially more in behind the hands at P6. And as a result, the swing direction is much, much further to the right. There's a little bit more extension, we're hitting out of the ball for longer, etc, etc. They're all byproducts of what you're trying to do, what sort of shot you're trying to hit. You can play the push in varying levels. The more and more time you spend making the swing that you see on the left, the less likely you are of getting the club coming into the golf ball from slightly out in front of the hands, getting on the target line too quick, radius getting a little bit too wide, low point moving back, hitting the odd pull. So it's just a conditioning exercise to tidy up P6. The work you're doing on the way back now is really good. It's just controlling that direction of swing to give you the desired path. And the main reason for this is that as the club gets longer, the ball gets nearer to the left shoulder, it becomes more difficult to create the in-to-out swing that you require without the club being in behind the hands more at P6. Good luck with it. You got any questions, feel free to drop me a line, and look forward to meeting up again in 3 or 4 weeks' time to do some further work. Well done.